There was a ton of weddings this offseason. You know who went to literally pretty much all of those? Alyssa Nair. Is she the wedding MVP?
It's like no contest.
Like, is she okay?
I haven't heard from her. Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Good Vibes FC Season 2. I'm Sam Ewis. I'm coming to you from the Women's Game World Headquarters in Vermont.
I'm Becky Sauerbrunn, coming to you from Portland, Oregon.
And I'm Lynn Biondolo. So, Sam, you wrote that wrong in the thing. But I'm coming to you from my new city, Seattle.
New city, new name, baby. I can't wait to hear about the new name, the new city, Becky's retirement. Good Vibes FC is presented by our great friends at Olipop. That's exactly what we're going to do in this podcast today. We're going to catch up. Lynn got married. Becky's retired. Lynn got married again, everybody. We're going to hear all about that. Then we're talking Naomi Girma and her mega transfer to Chelsea, and also what that means for the NWSL. Are we keeping calm or panicking on? Finally, we'll answer an email from Austin about how transfer fees work. That one's on Becky because she knows the most. But first, Becky and Lynn, Biondolo, let's catch up.
Becky.
Yeah?
What have you been doing?
Been doing a lot of Pilates, which is probably a cliche, but I am loving it.
Yeah, do you think it's hard?
Yeah, of course it's hard. It's incredibly subtly hard, and I think that's why I like it so much.
Do you get the shakes up there?
1,000%. About the easiest movements. I'm just like, can barely hold it.
Are you doing like a class Pilates or like one-on-one?
Class Pilates, but it's like small class. There's like 6 of us, 6 reformers.
One time in Jersey, I was trying to do intro things for Pilates and going through all of them to see which Pilates studio I liked. And Marley was like, I want to come with you. I was like, yeah, come. And he's like, do I need a towel? I was like, no, it's not that. You're not going to sweat like that. We had to take a break within the first 10 seconds of class. And the whole time he was like throwing daggers through the mirror to me. Drenched. He was drenched the whole time. So I feel you. It's hard.
Yeah, I asked Ola if he wanted to come, and he was like, absolutely not. I took him to one yoga session like a couple years ago, and he just never has trusted me since.
Becky, besides Pilates, what else has retirement brought into your life?
It's been like surprisingly busy. I think like my capacity to be social has grown. And so I did a bunch of traveling over. I went to London. I went to Spain. I did traveling over the holidays. I, of course, went to Lynn's wedding, and then I went to Lindsay Horan's wedding, and I went to Heyo's 40th birthday party, and it was.
I saw pictures of that. It looked so fun.
I had FOMO.
It was so fun, and it was so nostalgic because we were in Manhattan Beach, and just like all these memories from when we did camps there. So we went to all like the same haunts, and I just got to catch up with a lot of people that I haven't spoken to in a while, and they're all retired. So it was like a perfect time for me to like just talk to them about their retirement journeys. And Abby Wambach had like the most perfect advice for me. Cause you kind of go through a bit of identity loss when you retire. And Abby said to me, like, soccer isn't what made you special. You're what made soccer special. And my first instinct was to be like, no, that's not true. Like, I can't believe that. And I like tried to sit with that a little bit. And I feel like there's a lot of truth in that. Like, we are what has made this sport so special. And I hope that I can believe it more as like time goes on. But I just really loved that from her.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
I love that too. Well, you are what made soccer special. I mean, I think it's so cool when you get to like play with your idols and then they get to become your friends. But for me, and I know for like millions and millions of other people, like you were somebody that I looked up to and they look up to. And for millions of people, like you're the reason why they started playing soccer. So of course you made soccer special. And I'm sure this is like really hard to hear because I think all of us don't like hearing nice things about ourselves, but
I do.
It is so true. Sam's like, please tell me more. But it's so true. Like I can only imagine like how many young defenders are like, I want to be like Becky Sauerbrunn. And
yeah, that is hard to hear. Okay, someone else go.
Hard to hear. Well, Reba, I was gonna say like I think in my retirement journey that I am still on, by the way, I think something I realized was like all the things that made me good at soccer, that I was like hardworking and like dedicated and I wanted to be a good teammate. I still am all those things. And as much as I felt like, and still at times feel this like loss of identity, I always have those kind of qualities to go back to that still make up who I am. And Lynn, I actually feel like you're someone who helped me realize that, because you embody that so much, even though you're like not retired or retiring. You have this sense of confidence in like knowing who you are and what makes you really great, and that you know that apart from soccer.
Wow, is this like a
Is this a
lovely little
compliment podcast?
Becky, how long did you hang?
I was up there for, I think I hit the minute, which was like the indicator that you're going to live a long life. So like, let's go, like hopefully.
Becky, for people who don't know, what are we talking about?
Oh, sorry.
Okay, so there was a quote unquote beep test competition at the end of this workout that Abby, like, she goes to this place all the time. She's like, oh, it's a really easy, you'll have a lot of fun. Turned out to be like the hardest workout since retirement. I was sore for like 4 days. Part of it, Kelly was like, hey, at the very end, we're going to do this hang test. And so we all like jumped up onto a bar and just held it for as long as possible. And like there was 8 of us, people start dropping off. I probably did the best on this beep test that I ever did on any beep test, just so everyone knows. But Kelly O'Hara just absolutely destroyed all of us.
Of course. She's been training for that. She like set you all up. She's like,
1000%.
come on guys, it's not that hard. I haven't been training all year for it.
It's exactly how it happened.
Well, Lynn, you were training all year for your 2 weddings. You've had more weddings than Becky and I put together. And you have a new home in Seattle. I want to hear everything. Can you tell us a special story from one of your weddings, or what it's like to have a new name? Like, tell us everything.
A special story. Well, first of all, I did have 2 weddings, and I thought that it was going to be a good idea to plan 2 back to back. We were like, let's keep the party going. And they were amazing, but like, I don't recommend, you should like space it out a little bit. I was a bit stressed, especially for the second one. And I knew that that was going to happen because after the first one, I was like, it's okay. We don't need to like do all the details. And then naturally the night before, nothing was going smoothly and I was panicking. And Marley was like, you got to relax. But I don't know. I just felt like the first wedding, not that I didn't love the second wedding. There's things about it that were amazing. But the first one, the reception, and having everybody in the same room, you guys know, but we had an MC, which was one of Marley's best friends, and he was just hitting jokes after joke after joke. And I've never seen somebody just not hit a joke like that. Like he didn't miss. And then every single speech I think also hit. And it just felt like and maybe this is because the room was smaller, but it just felt like such a community, and everybody seemed very excited to be there and involved. And I just like loved that feeling.
Lynn, it was such a vibe. Like I was telling everyone, like if I were to ever have a wedding, I would want it to be exactly like that one. Like that's how much I loved it. And it was just like you and Marley, just beautiful. The surroundings, beautiful. People were beautiful. Like it was just such an awesome vibe.
Food was lit.
The food was so good.
So good. The steak.
The steak was so good. Like
unreal.
I didn't get to eat much of it, and I'm upset about it, but it was so good. We got to taste test before. I'll never have steak like that again.
All right. You know who we have to shout out? There was a ton of weddings this off season. Lindsay Herring got married. Lynn got married twice. Tierna Davidson got married. Soph Smith got married. Steph McCaffrey got married.
Allie Riley
got married. Carrie Riccaro got married. That was 8, I think, if I can count. You know who went to literally pretty much all of those? Alyssa Nair.
Unreal.
Is she the wedding MVP?
And her sister got married, so she did that too.
It's like no contest.
Like, is she okay?
I haven't heard from her.
At Lindsay's, it was 6 out of 7, I think. And I was like, she's thriving.
Oh, so I saw her 3 days later at Steph McCaffrey's wedding on New Year's Eve, and I was like, I think Alyssa's had it. I think she's
just
done.
surviving.
I know. I haven't heard from her either. She's probably like, I need a break.
Yeah, she's like, get me away from all these people. Lynn, I do just quickly want to hear, you're in a new place. You're in Seattle. Yeah. You have a new name. How are you feeling about 2025?
I'm excited. I think it's like a year of fresh and newness. I'm so excited to be close to home. My mom told me the other day, she's like, I just can't believe we're on the same time zone. So she's like, I can call you at any
gosh.
time.
You're like, Mom.
I know.
Perfect.
I just think that that's so cool, being able to like talk to my family on a normal time. And also like the time, Marley's not here right now. He's still in Australia, but the time difference to Australia is incredible. The team has been awesome. It is cold here though. I would like to change that, but people keep telling me the summers are amazing. So I'm waiting for that to happen. And I'm excited. I'm just so excited. My dad told me that I should put my name on my jersey, or my new name on my jersey. So I did that. Like, I just feel it's very fresh and new. And it was very like, I don't know, it was nice and sweet.
Wait, can you tell us more about your dad's like influence
Yeah.
on your decision to change your name on your jersey?
Yeah, so I originally wasn't going to. I think that the Biondolo name is amazing and incredible, but I've always thought like Williams, like this is like an ode to my family and my dad, and my like they helped me get to this place too. And then I was going back and forth, like thinking about like, should I do this? Should I not do this? And then when I was having my father-daughter dance, we were just dancing and talking, and he brought it up, and he was like, and I think you should change your name on your jersey. He said, this is the family you chose to be in, and Marley's an incredible person. And so I think you should just change your name. And I was like, okay, instant tears, obviously. And here we are.
That is really beautiful, and I'm so glad that you had that kind of like clarity around changing your name, and that's so beautiful. I know you've said before, I'm pretty sure on this podcast, that in African culture, which is where Marley's dad is from, that name was given to Marley as a gift.
Yes. Yeah. So the Biondolo name was gifted to Marley's dad, and then he decided to give it to Marley and his brother. And so besides one other family in the Congo, anybody in the world who has the last name Biondolo will be like directly related. So I think that's really cool.
Oh,
That is
wow.
really cool.
That's beautiful.
Well, I was going to tell a quick update as well, but it's not nearly as profound as any of you guys' moments. Basically, I've had myself a little off season. I went to Australia to Lynn's second wedding. We went for 2 weeks. We had a beautiful vacation. We drank wine. We ate so much food, French fries, cheese, everything you can think of. So when we got home, we were like, we need to be like a little bit more healthy. So we started making what we're calling slop every Sunday. It's basically just like a bunch of hot vegetables in soup, or basically chili form, but like we're calling it slop for some reason. And then we just like have slop throughout the week. So Tuesday afternoon, Pat, what do you want for dinner? Slop. And then we have slop.
And it's different every time though, because it's just random vegetables.
Well, it's different week to week. So like, for example, this week it's like a chili, but we've had it be, you know, a little bit soupier, and we've had it be a little bit more like vegetable-ier.
Why did you name it that?
Because it was like funny. Like we just thought it was so funny to like put some slop over rice and then just like constantly have slop, and that be like our health kick.
Are you crock potting it? Like, how are you making it?
Becky's
We
skeptical.
make it in like a Dutch oven on the oven, like not in a crock pot, but just like on the stovetop. I don't think anybody's interested in this, but like I just really wanted to tell you guys about slop.
Well, just to like connect and relate, I also have decided that I want to be healthier. And so anytime I'm at home, I will cook unless it's the weekend. And then if we're on a away trip, then I get to order out. So I'm also I want to cook more and not just order food.
All right, well, we gotta send you some of our slop ideas. And Becky, we can also include you on that slop thread.
That's okay. I mean, you can if you want to, but
I know everybody wants to hear all about this, but it's not Slop Vibes FC, it's Good Vibes FC. So I want to make sure we get to all the news from all around the soccer world. We've got tons of preseason action in the NWSL and lots of news out of Europe, which is why we have to start with Naomi Girma's big move to Chelsea. It's a $1.1 million record-breaking transfer fee. And Chelsea apparently had to beat out other top teams like, I think, Arsenal and Lyon, who reportedly had made big offers for 24-year-old Naomi. Obviously, nobody's surprised that Naomi Girma has become such a coveted global sensation. She's been called the best defender in the world by Emma Hayes. She's one of the best teammates and people as well. Everybody's just always talking about how great Naomi is. She has been dealing with a calf injury, so she didn't play in Chelsea's game this past weekend against Aston Villa, but she's in London. And Becky, What I was really excited to hear from you about Naomi's transfer is that the transfer fee record was broken by a defender.
I know. I love that. And I don't think people are really talking about that part of it enough, because I think if you had polled the soccer community, everyone probably would have been like, oh, yeah, it'll be a 9, it'll be a 10, it'll be an attacker for sure. I love that it's a center back that broke this record. And I hope that it's kind of a shift towards like valuing true defenders, because I do think like defending is a little bit of a dying art. And so I think some teams are realizing like, wow, maybe we didn't necessarily value that center back position as much as we should. And the fact that a lot of teams were vying for Nay, like I think it goes to show that like maybe center backs and defenders are being valued a little bit more. And I can't tell you enough how many times I've heard like attackers win you games, just defenders don't. And that's why they're valued higher. I mean, you see them on ads, you see them with marketing, like they're usually the faces of the team. So for me, I'm like so delighted that it's a center back that is kind of getting this accolade and making history.
I know, that's so sick. Lynn, what do you think about this big transfer?
Like, of course, it's going to be Naomi. Like, that's how I feel. Like, she has been snubbed so many times in like awards that this is like, I don't know. She's just like an incredible player, but an incredible human as well. And I think that she deserves everything good in this world. And so for her to be the person to break this record, we're saying it like it's like she was going for this. Like, it's crazy.
I know.
She's just like, I like playing soccer, and like somebody wants to pay me so much money to do it. Good for her. But I agree with Becky. I think it's incredible that it's a defender. I think that Naomi doesn't even know how good she is, and she's 24, and she's the best defender in the world. I think that she could probably be the best midfielder in the world, and she could be the best forward in the world if she decided that's the position she wanted to be.
She did score those 2 goals at the end of last year. Remember that?
Right.
Almost a third.
I know.
From what I remember.
She was literally like a ball magnet. It was crazy. And I think that she's so humble, but like hopefully this is a moment now where she can say, yeah, I'm really good, I'm really talented, and I deserve this. I obviously haven't spoken to her personally, but I hope she feels that, because she does deserve it. She is an unreal defender and an unreal human being.
Yeah, what do you guys think that she's looking for in going to Chelsea? Obviously, I find this so interesting. Chelsea's already top of the table. They haven't lost a game all year. They're like clearly vying for Champions League. They also just signed Kira Walsh, which is like another world-class signing. Chelsea is like already doing so great. Obviously, Naomi's going there for the incredible training, to play in Champions League, all this stuff. What do you think she's going to get out of this experience going and playing abroad and playing in the WSL and playing in Champions League?
I think there's a lot of growth that can be had when you have to kind of like reestablish yourself in a new space with new players. And I mean, Sam, you can probably talk about that for City. I felt that when I played like briefly in Norway, like the things that you learn about yourself, where like your reputation may precede you a little bit, but you have to prove yourself from the get with these like world-class players. And so I think just the growth you get from that, and then also being able to gauge yourself like week in and week out with some of the world's best. Like you said, Chelsea's got a stacked roster. Like getting to train and play with those players, like the things that she's going to be able to add to her tool bag. I mean, it's just going to make her even better, which is like a scary thought that she has even more heights to hit.
Yeah. I would also think that like it's just a different style too, to have that in your bag as well. Like what other tools do you need for this versus this? Like, and I think that in Europe, you're like immersing yourself in a soccer culture, which is also very cool. So day in and day out, people like eat, breathe, sleep, die soccer, which isn't the same here. And I think that that's something that people crave as well, that she might be craving as well, to say like, how can I just be a better student of the game?
Yeah, for sure. When I went to Man City in 2020, I do remember feeling like I had been playing for the Courage for a long time, kind of playing the same position, and just wanting to, like, kind of like what Becky said, put myself in a new environment with new players where I had to not just on the field kind of prove myself as a player, but fit into a new locker room and like socially understand what was a little bit of a different culture. Like, to be honest, like me, I'm kind of loud and like bubbly, and like walking into an English locker room, that was like kind of obnoxious. And I had to kind of read the room and be like a little bit more self-aware of how loud I was being and how like over the top I was being, until I got to know some people and kind of gained their trust a little bit. I think it was such a great exercise for me as a person. But then to Lynn's point, like I learned a new culture around the game. It was like a new system. Going in from like 7 to 2 was new to me. In the NWSL at that time, we weren't at that level of professionalism where you were like eating breakfast and lunch and doing film and doing gym and doing physio all in one place. And I feel like learning that, and then learning this very like possession oriented, methodical style that we were playing at Man City was also new, and I think added a lot of layers to my game. I also wanted to point out that at this phase in the cycle of World Cups and Olympics, we tend to see moves like this. This is good timing for Naomi and other players to go abroad because the World Cup isn't for 2 more years. I was wondering if one of you could speak to like, can you imagine changing environments the year of a World Cup or an Olympics, and like trying to get settled while also going into all these really important camps and knowing that you have a big tournament coming up in a few months? Like that would be harder.
Yeah, I mean, I was still in the NWSL, but I did that for the World Cup.
For Gotham.
For Gotham, yeah. So I completely understand. And I can only imagine if you were like in a completely different culture.
Yeah.
It would be hard. You are now like further away from home. You don't have like the comforts of not just like the city, you know, but the country, you know. That would be incredibly hard. And then you don't have the friendships there because you haven't built those relationships of like to lean on somebody. And I do think that like, especially the US, like I've been talking to my new Rain teammates now, and like obviously there's a camp coming up, and they're talking about the flights that, okay, we're gonna leave on this day, blah blah blah. Lynn, are you going to camp? And I'm like, I don't know. Like the roster's not out yet. So there's just like that added thing of like there's just always an uncertainty with the US and going into those camps, as well as like all this newness. So to do it on a World Cup year or an Olympic year or a major tournament would be, in my opinion, tough.
Yeah, so I feel like it makes sense why we're seeing a lot of these moves right now. We've covered Naomi Girma's move, and hopefully all that's going to mean for Chelsea is that they're going to let in way less goals. Not that they're letting in a lot, but super excited for her. We've also seen a couple other NWSL players make this move to Europe, including Jenna Neiswanger to Arsenal, Caroline to Man City, Crystal Dunn to PSG, Tarcy Ann to Lyon. Becky, Tarcy Ann is actually second on that list of highest transfer fees, and Tarcy Ann is also defender. This is like the coolest new trend.
I love it. I love it so much.
It is so cool and crazy. I want to talk about what all of this movement means for the NWSL when we get back from a quick break. Welcome back, everybody. All right, let's talk about what all of these moves to Europe mean for the NWSL. We've seen Naomi Girma go to Chelsea, Jenna Neiswanger to Arsenal, Caroline to Man City, Crystal Dunn to PSG, and Brazilian and Houston Dash defender Tarcy Ann is heading to Lyon. Naturally, NWSL fans are wondering if this is cause for concern for our league here in the US.
I mean, Sam, are you panicking?
For once in my life, I am not panicking yet. I do feel like there are lessons and opportunities for the NWSL to learn from this kind of trend in movement. And we're actually going to get into what the NWSL can do to better retain talent. But what I want to mention before we get into that is that I just feel like there's this history of soccer. There's this history of the men's side being so successful in Europe that we all are always going to feel this like attraction to going to Europe. It's like this beautiful experience in your life. It's like a hotbed of soccer. You get to be a part of a historical club. Like that is not going anywhere. That's existed for a long time. Players have always wanted to do that. So I don't blame anybody for wanting to go and experience that. I don't think that everybody making this move is saying the NWSL is not the right place for me. So I just want to integrate into this conversation that the NWSL is also like acquiring and retaining a lot of talent themselves. Last season, our top players were from countries in Africa and South America, Barbara Banda, Temoshwinga, Marta, and even this offseason, Gotham signed Brazilians Gabby Portillo, who was so great at the Olympics last summer. NWSL GMs are out there seeking talent from other areas and other regions. They're coming to the NWSL. They're having huge success. So yes, we're losing some players to Europe. Like we mentioned earlier, that happens kind of all the time at this stage in this cycle of world tournaments. But I don't want to like completely forget about all of the incredible talent we have in the league that is sticking around this season and for the future.
Yeah, I 1,000% agree with you. I think I love how far the women's game has come globally when you think about all these other places that we are finding talent. I think like the next step for the women's game is building more of an infrastructure for talent identification. I think like on the men's side, like there are literally like there's infrastructures and levels, and you have people at a lot of games and different leagues all around the world. And I think that's something that the women's game really needs to start building up, because I think there is so much more talent that we just have not spotted. And I think the talent that we've seen come into the NWSL, I think there's so much more out there, and these players just need to be discovered and given a chance.
I think Sam, to your point earlier, right now is a perfect time for people to be moving, and I think that there is always going to be a draw to go overseas and like do something different that you haven't done. I think again, it's just like getting yourself out of your comfort zone, seeing if you like it. If you don't like it, you can always come back. Like there's all of that goes into this as well. And I think that the league is stronger than ever. There's so much talent in this league right now that it's scary as well. And we're expanding. Like Denver just got a new team. Like I'm not panicked at all. I go to training every day and I'm like, it's challenging and it's hard and it's different than Europe. I'm assuming I've never played in Europe, but it's different, but it's as challenging me as well. So I would not panic. We have so many players still here. Like Soph here, Trin is here, Mal's here, Rose, Sonnet, Tierna, like
you,
me.
No, Lynn, that's such a perfect example. Alyssa Thompson just re-signed through 2028. Temoshwinga is signed through 2028. And Lynn, exactly what you're saying. You're training here. You're making national team rosters. You've stayed in the NWSL your whole career. What are some of the things that have always made you be like, the NWSL is where I want to play?
Yeah, I think that part of it is my home. I want to be close to home. I've always been a little bit of a homebody. But I also think that there is something to our schedule. When it comes to major tournaments, we are played in. We're in the middle of our season. You're at the peak of your season versus like just coming off your off season. So I think that is a huge advantage here. And I think that the types of games we play, every single game here is so hard. You are putting everything into it versus overseas where I think it's getting better, but you're not going to play 9 tough games right now in the NWSL, every single game. And as crazy, and we call it like
Chaos League.
Yeah, exactly. It's Chaos League, but the parity in our league is unreal. And I think when you think of like, for example, the Olympics, a tournament that you are having fast turnarounds and you're playing top opponents every third day, the NWSL has prepared you for that, because sometimes you have 3 games in a week and they're not like you get to take a game off. You have to play those games like back to back to back and bring your all. And I think that sure, there's pros and cons to each, but for me, that's a huge pro.
Like the NWSL prepares you the best for international tournaments.
Yeah. Because you're in your prime form. It's July and you're like this. I'm in the middle of my season.
And I'm hot.
And I'm hot.
And I'm going to have to go play somewhere hot.
Exactly. I really think that, well, it was a little different because COVID hit, but being in North Carolina, training in the heat, and then having to go to Japan and play, I was like, we're fine.
I know.
We are fine.
I mean, I wasn't fine. I was so hot and it showed in my performance, but that's neither here nor there. That's nobody's fault.
You're selling yourself short, Sam.
And Becky, actually, I was thinking about what you said earlier too. Like, I think that the NWSL and everywhere, like the women's game is in this growth moment of, yeah, we need to like create a better system for identifying talent, whether that's academy systems or whether that's like, I don't know, better scouting internationally. But I have heard that a lot of NWSL GMs are out there in the world this offseason looking for talent and exploring and trying to sign new players. And I think that that's like a layer to this that we've only like barely scratched the surface of.
Yeah, agreed. I think there's quite a long way to go as far as that. But I think, you know, having players like Tem Wachwinga come into the league, like you're like, wow, from this nation, we found the MVP. Like who else is out there that we have not yet discovered? It's like, it's super exciting.
Totally. It's so sick. So I think like we all agree here. Everybody's made really good points. The league is still growing. Everything's really exciting. Lynn, you mentioned there's going to be a new NWSL team in Denver. And I do have some quick facts about Denver. Denver was the largest city in the U.S. without a professional women's sports team. But this spring, Women's Elite Rugby is launching a professional women's rugby team. It's their inaugural season. And now next year, in 2026, the NWSL will also have a team in Denver. The last time that Denver had a professional women's sports team was in 1998 with the Colorado Explosion with an X, which I love.
Clever.
They should bring that back, of the American Basketball League. And I just wanted to take a brief moment and discuss what we were all doing in 1998.
1998, I for sure was probably playing Zelda on my N64 and being like a super sullen teenager.
Well, I was 6, so
Okay.
I don't really know exactly what I was doing, but I was probably like watching Power Rangers and like wanting to be the yellow Power Ranger. Like, I don't really know. Is that okay?
Yeah.
I mean, I was 5, so I don't know what I was doing, but I was probably being a menace.
Most likely.
And like getting in trouble all the time. Like out doing things. I don't know.
Just out causing absolute mayhem while Becky's locked in her room playing video games, pouting.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I knew exactly what I was doing. I was probably listening to my boombox too, probably some R&B, because 90s had great R&B.
Okay, so back to now. Denver having a professional women's sports team is long overdue. Denver's going to become the NWSL's 16th team after a record-setting $110 million expansion fee agreement. That fee is more than double the previous highest NWSL franchise figure. And it also becomes the largest sum ever paid for a North American pro women's soccer team. Denver also just broke the NWSL record for fastest expansion club to 5,000 season ticket deposits. So go Denver.
We know that they beat out some, like, by all means, like really comprehensive bids from Cincinnati and Cleveland. So like there's a lot of interest in expansion, which feels like a really interesting counter to the idea that the NWSL is actually in trouble.
Yes.
I think if the NWSL invests in teams, builds on that hype, they won't really need to worry about what's going on across the pond. And like some fans want to wake up at 4 a.m. I am not one of those fans, sadly. Like I don't like waking up at 4 a.m. to watch soccer, unfortunately. I'm not there yet. But like there's really something to going to, like in Portland, the sports bra and having some drinks with friends and then making the walk to the stadium and like really experiencing that like Providence Park, like it's one of a kind. So I don't think the NWSL has anything to worry about. The WSL, it's incredible, but it's hard to feel like US fans are a part of that community from way over here in the dark.
Yeah. I also would agree with that, Becky. Like the Bay sellout crowds, San Diego sellout crowds, like people are going to games. It's not like, it's not dead over here. People are out those games. I get sick and tired. I'm just going to go on a little rant here of how people keep.
This should be a segment. What is Lynn sick and tired of?
I'm sick and tired. I do think that obviously women's sports needs to continue to push and grow. We've come so far, and we keep saying like, of course there's things that need to happen. And I'm like, there's things that need to happen overseas as well. It's not just happening here. Like things need to change everywhere. So to like continue to say like, whoa, panic, like things aren't going well. And I'm like, not everything's perfect. Not everything's greener on the other side. The grass isn't green on the other side. So I just think that's my little rant for the day.
And that was Sick and Tired by Lynn Williams.
My last name is not Williams anymore.
Oh my God.
Yeah, Sam, you are messing that up.
Oh my God.
It's okay. It legally is. You can call me that.
Okay, that was Sick and Tired with Lynn Biondolo. But Becky, I know that you have some really interesting thoughts on a way that the NWSL can improve and can combat the loss of players wanting to go to Europe. So that brings us to our Olipop Gut Check of the week. What? Oh my God! Open our Olipops. Dun, 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 dun.
I'm in a transition period. I don't have one right now.
I have a classic root beer.
I got the tried and true strawberry vanilla.
Can somebody Photoshop this?
Tried and true. Lynn's glass of water is getting photoshopped into an Olipop. She has Olipops on the way. Our Olipop Gut Check of the week. What does the NWSL need to do to retain talent?
I think that the NWSL should consider a designated player category. And this already exists in the MLS. They created it in 2007, basically to bring over David Beckham, because they knew that having a player of his stature, what it could do for the growth of the game, for marketing. And so what's so great about being a designated player is that that salary does not hit the salary cap. And so you can have someone like David Beckham come to LA Galaxy and have, this huge franchise face of the league. And he doesn't hit the salary cap, which also is great because then you can build out a team around him, like a supporting cast of also very good professional players. And so when it comes to the NWSL, I think this would be really interesting because not only could it be used to retain talent, but it could also be used to attract talent to the league as well.
When people think of soccer, they think of like the EPL, they think of like La Liga, all these like overseas. So to bring a big name here, everybody's like, oh my gosh, we got David Beckham. Oh my gosh, we got Messi. Who would be that? Because I think women's soccer has kind of started in the US and then went globally. Who would be that marquee person?
Well, we could use it for American players. I mean, this reminds me of like Sophia Smith. It would have been Alex Morgan, Mal Pugh, Mal Swanson. What am I doing with the not remembering anybody's new last names? But it could also be Ada Hagerberg, Lucy Bronze, Wendy Renard, Bunny Shaw. Like,
yeah,
the biggest names, Kira Walsh. Like, it's retaining American players here, which I'm sure it also gets used for in the MLS. But it's also bringing huge international stars that will excite our fan base here and be like, I want to go out and watch Marta play, which happens here.
No, I completely agree. I think that people crave soccer here in this country. We just have to market to them and get out. And people like, I'm not one of those people either, Becky. I'm not going to get up at 4 a.m. to watch a game, but people do that, and they want to watch the Super League. They want to watch soccer, and so to be able to bring that talent here, people are already getting paid a lot of money. You just pay one person more. I don't know. If you're good, you're good.
I was wondering, Becky, if there was any downside, if it would have any effect on the parity of the league, because the wealthiest owners would obviously be advantaged.
Yeah, it potentially could. Like the fact, you're bringing in a David Beckham, let's say, like, yeah, other teams are going to feel like, oh no, I need to put in that money to then attract another player. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. I think each team trying to up the level is actually really good for the NWSL. I think like historically, if you look at the MLS, one of the things that's happened though is that they've brought over DPs who maybe weren't in their prime or came over and they just weren't the players that they were hoping for. So it was really a mistake on the GMs and the teams selecting the right people to bring over.
Yeah, I don't think there's a downside to competition either. I think you see that with like Kansas City building a whole stadium that puts pressure on other owners to build things. And I think that continues to grow the sport. But I agree with Becky. Like, it could go wrong, but that's nobody's fault but the person who scouted the person. Because that could go wrong with anybody, though. That's not to say with
totally
somebody who's not, what is this, designated player? If it wasn't a designated player and you give somebody a contract and
but
it's a flop,
just way less of it's way less
risk.
Money.
It's risk reward, I guess.
Yeah, it is. I think it's exciting. I think this is such a great idea, Becky. We could talk about this all day, but if anyone listening has thoughts on what's going on with the NWSL and how the league can acquire and retain talent, we'd love to hear what you're thinking. Send us an email with your thoughts at womensgamemib@menandblazers.com. We have to take one more quick break, and then we'll be back for more. We're coming for your question, Austin. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Good Vibes FC. Now it's time for our Women's Game Weekly updates where we cover all the other news that you need to know. We do quickly have to discuss Gotham's mass exodus, which kind of has Gotham fans squirming a little bit, I think.
Yeah, Gotham has said goodbye to Lynn, B and Dolo, Sam, Yasmin Ryan, Delaney Sheehan, Sam Hyatt, Big Breath, Maitani Lopez, Crystal Dunn, and Jenna Neiswanger. That is a long list of quality players. And good for Gotham that their roster is still full of quality players. And I do think, like, at the end of the day, players want to play. And a majority of those players could very well be out and out starters for their next clubs.
Yeah, I would agree and disagree. Just obviously have been there and being one of the people named. I think that it's awesome that Gotham still has a ton of quality players. I think that's great for them, my enemies now, because I play for a different club. And I don't want to speak for anybody else. I'll just speak for me. But I don't think that you have a mass exodus happening just because people want to play. Of course you do want to play. Like, we are competitors. And that's always in the front of your mind. You're like, how do I play? But in my experience in North Carolina, we had a bunch of quality players. And there are players that decided to stay within the team because they knew that they were going to get better. And then they were continue to push and strive and all of the things. And I think like Ryan Williams, Kaylee Kurtz, like they stuck it out. And now look at their careers. They're amazing. They didn't leave just because they wanted playing time. I think that when you have a mass exodus in a club, it's just about being valued as a player, being valued as a person, and wanting to feel valued. And I think clearly you see people leaving for those reasons.
Lynn, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
So many players joined Gotham at one time. Mm-hmm. And I'm wondering, like, with your experience at North Carolina, did that also happen, or were these players kind of layered in at certain parts of the Courage's process? And so that makes it maybe a little bit easier to retain those players, because it's like you're not one of 8, you're one of 4. And so
yeah, I agree. I do North Carolina was layered in. I think that the players that did leave, it's not like the players hadn't been there before, if that makes sense. Like, it's not like all the players just came and then they just left.
Gotcha.
If that makes sense. But I also do think there are players on that. I find it strange when players are leaving they didn't make it to free agency. Mm-hmm. So for some reason the contract was cut short. And I think that in a normal situation, you would hope it doesn't happen at all. But if it were to happen, it would be like 1 player or 2 players. But there's been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Yeah.
Which is a lot.
And I do think that the fans have been reacting to this as kind of like what's going on here at Gotham, so much so that Gotham's GM Yael Averbush wrote an open letter out to Gotham fans on Monday of this week, addressing kind of the concern from fans about losing some players. I do want to read a couple sentences from it. She did say, "We recognize not every player's journey will align perfectly with our club's path. Some will thrive and grow with us for years, while others may desire to move on to other opportunities. Sometimes we'll decide to move in a different direction too. This is the nature of professional sports." She went on to kind of explain the incredible talent that Gotham is retaining, which sounds super impressive. And when you look at their roster, it still looks like a really competitive roster with some awesome players there. But obviously, we would have been remiss not to mention that a lot of players left Gotham, and time will tell.
Yeah, I mean, I think at the end of the day, you want to see as like just a fan of the sport, you want to see clubs succeed, and you want to see people stay at clubs and I think retain players and be able to build this like culture and community that people want to be a part of. And I hope that for Gotham. I hope that everybody who is there now feels that way. I can't speak for everybody. I can only speak from my experience, and then sometimes you just don't align, and I wasn't my best self there, and I don't think that they were their best selves to me either. So I just think that it's a two-way street always. But at the end of the day, nobody cares about your career more than you. So clearly people were like, I got to do what's best for my career.
For sure. Well, in a total 180, let's talk about Houston, who are having like literally such a glow up. Despite the very recent trade of Tarsian to Lyon, Houston has a new coach with Fabrice Gautra, who has been an assistant coach at the Courage the past few seasons. Houston also has some very notable new players. Yasmin Ryan, Delaney Sheehan, who came from Gotham, Danielle Colaprico, Messiah Bright. I'm feeling excited for Houston.
It's definitely a glow up for sure. And I'd like to add 2 more players to that. I want to add Abby Smith and Kristen Westphal. These are players that I played with on Portland a couple of years ago, and them joining Houston, like amazing professionals, amazing people. So yeah, that's a pretty impressive haul.
I know. I feel like last year was obviously a tough year. They went through a lot of ups and downs, players speaking out. Houston's majority owner, Ted Siegel, has also, there was this article out recently that he's been seeking potential investors to either like join up and invest or even take over the majority stake, which I think is another positive sign for the Dash. They have been struggling the past few years, and then maybe like an influx of money and interest and excitement after this really positive offseason could keep their momentum going up. So I'm kind of like, Dash the F on.
Ew.
I mean, I'm not going to say that.
I think like at any given moment I could be cheering for anybody. It's just, the nature of being an unbiased journalist, right? You guys?
Oh, totally unbiased.
Totally.
Well, there was lots of big moves this offseason and lots of drama in the January transfer window, especially in England. Nothing caught our eye quite like Chloe Kelly's emotional departure from Man City. If you don't remember, Chloe was the big hero of the Euros in 2022 for England. But weirdly, she hasn't been playing that much recently at Man City. And so the fans and the media have been speculating that if she didn't leave Man City soon and get some minutes, she might miss out on this summer's Euros with England. At the very end of the transfer window, Chloe actually had to go on Instagram and post this statement and be like pretty blunt about the situation, about how she felt she was being treated unfairly, and saying that she just wants to be happy again and have the opportunity to play and try to make a run for the Euros roster. Obviously, we don't know all the details about this situation, but what I'm thinking about is this idea that she had to go public and was pushed to talk about this on her own social media. And I just feel really bad that she got put in this kind of tough spot.
Yeah, I just feel like it's like a sad situation. I think as players, like we are always like towing the line of like how much do you put out there and how much do you just keep behind closed doors and figure out within the club. And like I said before, I think at the end of the day, nobody's going to care about your career as much as you care about it. So maybe that is, I don't know. I just feel like it's such a sad situation that it like came to that and they couldn't figure it out.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's, really a crappy situation to be in. And I think we as players sometimes see the media and the public and our lives playing out like that. It sometimes can feel a little unfair that it makes us so vulnerable. And I think like an interesting counterpoint to that is like when we use the media and the public for like leverage in this situation, like bringing light to a situation that she probably tried to handle in-house that didn't come to like a good result, then using the public to like bring eyes to this and like to apply pressure from a different area. Like I think that's really fascinating.
Definitely. At the very last second, Chloe ended up getting put on loan to Arsenal. Man City agreed to that kind of temporary situation. She's on loan there till the summer. And we'll obviously hope to see Chloe on the field playing and fighting for a spot on the English national team for this big tournament this summer. So she signs with Arsenal, and that leads us to the WSL table after week 13. Chelsea still has a stronghold in first place with 37 points. They beat Aston Villa 1-0 this weekend. Man United beat Tottenham 1-0, marking their 5th league win in a row. So they are really seeming to click at the right time. But this weekend was all about the Gunners as Arsenal faced Man City and won 4-3, leapfrogging the standings, taking over the 3rd slot, while Man City kind of, I don't know, hot and cold. They're now sitting in 4th. There's this one other crazy story in Europe that I wanted to share from this past weekend. Barcelona, obviously, so good. They've won Champions League 2 years in a row. They lost their first Liga F match, that's their domestic league in Spain, in 622 days. And even crazier, the loss was handed to them by Levante, who are near the bottom of the table. They're in danger of relegation. This was such a wild upset. I was trying to think of like something to compare it to, and it's like the equivalent of me winning a Grammy over Beyonce for my singing on the Christmas special.
Oh.
Which, Levante, no offense, it wasn't that bad, but like still, it's
it
crazy.
wasn't that bad. So I saw the stats from that game, and it was one of those where it's wild that Barca did not win that game. It wasn't like Levante like really took it to them. It was like they were probably holding on for dear life.
Yeah, I know. I think I saw like an expected goals stat from that game, and it was very heavy in Barcelona's favor. But sometimes with an underdog game like that, you just hang on. And the soccer gods are just like, it's time, man.
It's time.
I know. This is your time to shine.
So go Levante. See, I can cheer for anybody I want.
No, you can't. You literally can't.
Kind of a tough weekend overall for Barcelona. They also lost top midfielder Kira Walsh on a transfer to Chelsea, but they're fine. Barcelona is still 8 points clear of second place in the table, hanging on strong to first place. I want to head over to our inbox really quick before we let everybody go. We got an incredible email from Austin who says, "Hello, TWG team. We recently learned that Naomi Girma will go to Chelsea on a $1.1 million transfer fee. My question is, does the player get any of that transfer fee, or is the transfer fee from club to club? What does the club spend that money on? And does the transfer fee reflect the compensation the player can expect to earn from the new club? Thanks for taking my question. Go Washington Spirit." That's Austin, not me. I'm not cheering for everybody. Becky, I was kind of hoping you could explain this one to us all.
I can certainly try. I'm going to limit the scope a little bit because transfer fees and who gets a chunk of them differs where you are in the world. And then within that, between the men's and the women's game, there's also some differences. So I'm going to talk about historically what has happened in the NWSL with transfer fees.
Okay.
So no, Naomi's not going to see any of that transfer fee. I don't think any players have seen a chunk of that. Maybe that'll change. Hopefully that'll change in the future. I'll also say that the transfer fee cannot be used to pay for San Diego's players. What they can do, they can pay for San Diego's employees. They can build out operations. They can use it for finding other talent to bring into the league. But there are stipulations about how that money can be used. And as far as like, will Naomi make, 1.1 million at Chelsea? Like, the transfer fee is not correlated to what the players' wages are going to be. Like, those are negotiated separately. But you would think, and there's an implication or an understanding that if you're breaking a transfer fee record, that you're probably going to be one of the highest paid players on the team. And I hope Naomi makes 1.1 million because she'd be worth every single penny.
1.1 million a week for Naomi.
A week.
That's what I'm
in
saying.
Pounds.
Yeah,
That's what
in
I'm saying.
pounds.
In pounds. Austin, thank you so much for writing in. We love to hear from all of you. I truly do comb through the inbox looking for questions for this section of the podcast. So please send us an email, womensgamemib@menandblazers.com. We're looking for quirky, funny, weird questions. Austin, I also love this question, and we all learned a lot. So thank you so much for writing in. Sadly, this is the end of the podcast. We need to leave our listeners with a good vibe.
Sam, you want to start?
I do want to start, actually. January was reading month for me. It's winter here in Vermont. I went on vacation, so I was just reading on vacation and then reading when I got home from Vermont. A book, a bowl of slop. How can you beat that? I read this book. It was called One Day I'll Grow Up to Be a Beautiful Woman. And it was written by the mother of a trans child. And it was like the most beautiful, touching, sad, difficult story. This child realizes very early on that they are transgender, and the family has a lot of trouble in their community being accepted. And so I just feel like I really learned a lot, and I've been loving reading books like this. So I'm also looking for memoir recommendations, and I in turn recommend this one to everybody. It was really, really good.
Well, I am certainly adding that to my TBR list.
Yeah, it was an incredible book. I do really recommend it.
Well, mine isn't as poignant, I would say, but I got invited to do trivia with some of my Thorn teammates. And like I told you guys earlier, like my social capacity is bigger now that I'm retired and I don't get to be surrounded by 25 people every single day. So we went to this pizza place in Portland, and it's voted like one of the best trivia nights in the city. And there's like 20, it's cramped, 20 groups. There's 4 rounds of trivia. We have to like trade our results with the people next to us. So they like grade our answers, they give it back, you know, you put it in or whatever. And we're like, this team is like kicking our ass. Like we're going to get last place. And so the results come in at the end of the night, and we're like, okay, let's just not be last. And so they start announcing the team names. We were the Quizzly Bears, and we're not last place. And then we get to like 11th, and we're like, no way, we broke top 10. Didn't call our name. We're still top 10. We're like, top 5? Like maybe? There was a tie for 3rd place. We're like, all right, we got 3rd place. No, like we got 2nd place out of the entire group. And the team next to us, the one that we're like, they're kicking our ass, they were the team that won it all. So we were like, okay, that makes a lot of sense. But we were so stoked. We were cheering so hard.
Maybe they sabotaged you. Maybe
they didn't. They were just way better than us.
Wow, that's incredible, Becky. I do feel like the Portland Thorns would be like sneaky, kind of like great at trivia.
Yeah, we're all sneaky.
Was there
smart.
like any question that you guys were surprised that you got?
The first one were years and from 2000 and on, and there were some ones in there that like I'm so glad that we had kind of an age range, because there was like, when did Firefox 1.0 come into existence? When did TikTok get created? So like it was a really cool like era spread of questions, and so we all kind of hit it, which was perfect. There was Hina Sugita was with us, and she's Japanese, and there were a couple questions that like she knew, like she helped contribute to the win. It was fantastic.
Wow.
Quizzly Bears for the 2nd place.
For the 2nd
silver.
place.
I
We
love
got
that, Becky.
$10
that is such
at
a
the
good
bar.
vibe. That is such a good vibe. Thank you for
is a
sharing
good
that.
vibe.
Lynn, good vibe us.
Well, now I'm embarrassed because you made a whole collage of my good vibes.
Oh my God.
It was
Wait,
adorable.
Lynn, if you didn't see this, I need to just say, last season on Good Vibes, I made fun of Lynn for, quote, always saying to just go have a little treat and that being her only good vibe ever. Boy, was I wrong. We made a compilation of all of Lynn's good vibes from season 1, and they literally were so beautiful,
Thank you.
lovely, poignant, touching. I was so wrong, and I needed to just own up to that, Lynn. I'm so excited to hear what you have to say right now.
Thank you. I've been living off vibes over here for real, because I literally have no home and an Airbnb right now, and I just got my car. Woo. So I got my car. It has some stuff packed in it, so I finally feel like I have a little bit of home here in Seattle, because like I said, I'm living in an Airbnb. But something that I've been doing here to make me feel good is every night I've been on a tea kick. So I've been having tea and some chocolates. And so every night I just pop some chocolates in there and drink some tea, and then I go to bed.
What kind of tea are you drinking?
A ginger lemon something, and then a peppermint something else.
Okay, that's it for this week's episode of Good Vibes FC. We have a really great episode of Friendlies dropping on Thursday with the new head coach of the Canadian women's national team, Casey Stoney. I'm really sorry, but I can't say go Canada. That's where I draw the line.
That's where the line is drawn?
Mm-hmm.
That's a really long line.
Well, it's drawn. But I did love talking to Casey Stoney. She was wonderful.
If you are not subscribed to our podcast feed and YouTube channel, please subscribe. That way you won't miss any episodes. You can follow along on social media. Our Instagram handle is @Women'sGameMIB, and we're also on Blue Sky, X, and TikTok. You can sign up for our newsletter, which tells you all you need to know about what has happened in the women's game all over the football world, delivered to your inbox every Monday at the link tree in our social media bios.
Yes. And check out our merch. Girls, show.
We all are wearing the merch, everybody.
Collab with Homage. That's who made them. They're so comfy, you guys.
Yeah, they are
Very
soft.
comfy.
And be a part of everybody's favorite club. It's available in the Men in Blazers store on worldsoccershop.com. And send us pictures. We want to see all your pictures in the merch.
Oh my gosh, I really do. I want to make a collage of all of our fans and their cute merch. Actually, speaking of merch, we're doing a giveaway of the Good Vibes hoodie that Lynn Biondolo is currently wearing. Well, not that exact hoodie, your own new hoodie, but that one. So the hoodie and a $250 voucher to our store on worldsoccershop.com. You're going to have to tune into Good Vibes next week on Tuesday to hear how to enter the giveaway. All right, everybody, we're going to let you go now. Goodbye.
I'm Becky Sauerbrunn.
And I'm Lynn Biondolo.
And I'm Sam Mewis, and we love you all so much.